Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz, here with a Thursday episode as we count down to the start of the season. Richmond and Carlton only a couple hours away. Before I jump into today's episode, as always, check us out on all our social media platforms, in particular YouTube, Spotify. Get in touch with us via X Supercoach Insider 100 or Swizz26 for me directly. A big thank you once again to the Skodfather, last year's winner Joven, and the former winner JP for jumping on the live chat last night. There's still time to check that out. And they answered lots of questions, those boys, so thank you so much. Chris, myself, and Ben have all put out our final team reveals. Might be a few changes, as I said, fluid situation because of waiting for some of these rookies being named, and I'll talk about that. So part of this show will be the Thursday late mail that we've heard so far. I'll go through these Draftstars teams, or what I'm looking at for tonight's Richmond Carlton game. I've got my tips, and I'm also doing round zero votes. So I follow a few pages, especially the one I put the olive branch out to Scoops out there. I know he does his votes every week. It's always very St Kilda flavoured or non-Victorian clubs, so I'll be mentioning them as well. But if you haven't already, our Supercoach Insider overall league code is 661862. Now we'll jump into the late mail that's been happening. So a couple of announcements from the Bulldogs. As expected, Sam Davidson has been named, so good there. But a young fella, and it's Josh Dolan, small forward originally, I think, from the Sandy Dragons, has been named as well. So don't know if either will start sub. You'd expect Davidson to start on field. But yeah, so Dolan didn't do a lot against the Hawks in the preseason game, so I still think that's a pass. And if he does well the first couple of weeks, we can always use him as a downgrade option. But that's a no for me for now. Murphy Reid has been named from Fremantle, so one to look at for your midfield. Again, need to just wait for those last minute sub. But you'd hope the young fella isn't starting a sub first up. No news yet about Nevitt or the Saints players, so at time of recording, so we're still awaiting that news. The big one, however, is the Brisbane Lions. Levi Ashcroft, as expected, has been named, but Tom Morris is reporting he is expecting he will be named the sub. So that's been the big one going around the Supercoach community this afternoon. The expectation is, again, Levi Ashcroft will be the sub against the Swans. Now, that's a dilemma. Some people are already moving him out. A couple of people have been mentioning to me about the Bailey Humphrey situation when his first year for the Suns, when he started off as sort of sub-affected games, had a 39, 38, 43 and a -3, and then went through the roof. So had only dropped a little bit of value, and then he went 64, 117, 101, 90, 99, and all of a sudden he was up to 400K. Levi, with his fixture, has got a great chance of doing that. So yes, he might be sub first week. You could go both ways, and you can at least then have a look at him before you want to trade him in, if that's the case. But what happens if he gets on early and still puts up a good score? For me, I'm just going to chuck him on my bench. So he was in my flex, just doing a maneuver there. I'll probably put one of the primos now in the flex position, and then bring on one of the rookies, most likely maybe Camperelli now, I was going to loophole, and I might just have him straight on at that M8 position, just waiting to see what other rookies name there. Also, a little bit of chat about Nathan O'Driscoll, who I've been pretty hot on in preseason. Could be getting some CBA action on Saturday with Young out as well. So it's just something that's come over from the Perth media before. So one to potentially watch. Don't know how true it is, but as I said, there was a couple of reports about that happening. Before I jump in the Draftstars, I will talk quickly about my tips for the weekend. So we did go through our tips last night. So I'll be mentioning these each week. So Blue Baggers should do an easy job against my boys tonight, 50 points. Hopefully it's close by halftime, and then I think they'll just blow us away. Hawks against the Bombers. I'm picking up the upset on Saturday, Fremantle against Geelong. I know Freo missing a couple of players, but it is going to be absolutely a stinking hot day here in Melbourne. And I think Freo should be more prepared for that than what Geelong. If Geelong, it wouldn't surprise me if Geelong get up, but I feel like those conditions should suit Freo, and they have good form down there in recent years. The Lions in the grand final replay, the Doggies, few people going North Melbourne, but the bookies aren't loving them so much. The Pies against Port, that should be a cracking match. The Crows against the Saints. I'm picking GWS in the drench, in the absolute pour down rain against the D's. So that'll be a 50-50 game. And Gold Coast, they just got to get the job done on the road. So to start off the season, so they are my tips to start off. All right, we'll get into the Draftstar side of things. As always, gamble responsibly, guys. And as I say every week, it's easy to do. I'm happy to promote this site of the ones that play because they do have a free option. So they do have, going into tonight, a full round option and also a Tigers versus Blues. So I'm just going to focus on the Tigers versus Blues part because until the teams are named, it's a bit hard to sort of predict what rookies we're going to go for as that. So far, we've had 2 minimum cashes this year playing the 50 cents games. So hopefully a little bit of a better result tonight. So for me, I'm going to start off with the rucks here. Both of them have got pretty good form, but I think DeConning just at that slightly cheaper price. And, the sole ruck, we sort of saw what he did middle of the year when he was the sole ruck. So I'm expecting a massive game from him from even a fantasy kind of point of view. Nank's, past scores have been pretty solid, but we're saving a little bit of coin there going into DeConning. There's the massive Blues feel about my side tonight. But there is a couple of Richmond players that actually get in. I'll go to the mids next. I'm actually bypassing both Cripper and Walsh. Obviously, Walsh coming off that injury. Cripps, great player, especially from a Supercoach perspective, but some of his scores in this aren't actually top shelf. So I'm actually going to avoid him for slightly cheaper midfielders, and I'm loading up on 3 of them. So George Hewitt, who this game usually suits him because of the tackling situation, does have the odd poor game, but his price is down still because of that 16 that he had through the year. But if you look at the end of the season, 108, 123, 136, usually smashes the Tigers. So I like him for a value option for a guy that can go massive. Chera's scores are obviously a lot down because of that injury-affected year, poor year. We expect him to have a much better year and start off really well. So I'm going Chera. I was a little bit tempted by Hopper, but looking at his scores, it's not sort of suit him, and I didn't really want to go paying up for Taranto. So I am going the other blue in the midfield, and that's Blake Acres. Richmond on the wing have 2 really young wingmen. So I'm expecting great things from Acres tonight. He usually smashes the Tigers, and would not surprise me. He puts up one of those sort of 100 games against us on the outside because just no one's going to run for it against him. And for 12,700, if he can actually score close to the 100 mark, I think that's great value as well. I looked at, say, Ollie Hollands, but I kind of want Carlton midfielders tonight. So I'm actually going on the other wing. I thought about Cooper Lord as well, but everybody's going to have the cheap fella and Lucas Camporelli. So he's a good one. As I said, I didn't mind Cooper Lord, depending on how much midfield time he's going to get. So the 88, but there is a worry he could also be sub, and I don't want to kind of thinking too late to be maybe moving that around. So if Camporelli's starting on the wing and plays anything like he did in that practice match, and he's probably going to just become it might be a good one if you are fading and you find another cheaper guy because everyone's going to be on him. And if he has a poor match, the problem is if he has a decent match, you're going to be way in the pack for that one. In regards to the forward line, it's a real tough one here because some of these Blues players could get up and about. Harry Mackay will get Richmond's best defender, so Brody Kemp now comes as the second guy in there. Obviously, poorer scores because he was playing as a sort of defender in some games, but the fact that he's playing in that Curnow role tonight, he's got a great opportunity to kick some goals and be a good scorer. I did have a look at Zachy Williams as well because he did have that injury-affected game and he could get on. I feel like I need one of these Blues forwards. So Brody Kemp's the one I'm going with there. And I'm going a Tiger also in the forward line, but he's not playing forward, and that's Sam Banks. So Sam Banks should be playing wing for the Tigers. I expect for him, hopefully he's the one getting the Camporelli matchup, so they sort of go head-to-head. Some of those scores obviously pretty poor because they're sub-affected scores. But, I think at least on the wing at that price, he should able to hopefully churn up at least a 60 or a 70. If he gets more than that, that's even a bonus. So I think he's pretty good value at the fact that he's only at 7,000. Looking at some of these other forwards, like I'd just be avoiding like the Richmond ones completely. It's just a question of, do you want another Blues guy? Francis Evans could be another sub person, so that's a bit of a worry. And then you've got to start paying up maybe a Fogarty. If you can sort of get the price match right. But again, he hasn't been a huge scorer in this as well, the way the format is. And even Matty Cottrell, you can see he has one spike game, but the rest of them are pretty poor. So I'd rather go the guy who's going to play up the ground in our boy, where was he, Sammy Banks, and then Brody Kemp, who's going to be the second marking tall, instead of Harry Mackay. Then I pop back to defence, and there's two obvious options here. So I'm going the Tigers. It was just a debate for me between sort of Vlastuin and Short. Vlastuin actually scores fairly solid in this game, and you can expect him to get quite a lot of ball. But I can't ignore Jaden Short. He's pretty consistent. And the fact that Richmond should be short kicking more and getting a lot more opportunities and plenty of kick-ins and everything like that. Just too hard for me to ignore tonight. Jack Silvani's not a bad one if he's playing second ruck. I didn't mind the Lockie Cowan. It's just a question of how much ball are they going to see? Is it going to sort of be divided up between them? So I'm actually avoiding the Blues in the back line. And as much as like Luke Trainer could be tempting at that $6,000, I can go 800 more and get Jacob Blight, who at least has played senior footy before, had that 72 in his last game. So I feel like he could see a lot of action, a few marks, maybe a few intercept marks. And then that takes up nearly my entire salary cap at nearly 100,000, 170 short. So pretty happy with that. So the main ones are the Blues in the midfield, and I think that should hopefully get me into a good position for our draft stars in tonight's match. And finally, a quick chat. I did say I'm going to mention some votes on any given week. So Sydney Hawthorn last week, just a quick recap there. So I've got Will Day, who got the best. I'm going to do a 5-4-3-2-1 because I feel like that's easier to sort of include some of the players I like. So I had last week, Day 5. I thought Sicily was the second best player on the ground because he turned the game in that last quarter. Could have easily kicked another goal, but handballed it off. It was a match winner. It was really good, solid in the first half. Lloyd Meek absolutely pants Grundy in the ruck, kicked the 2 goals. Awesome effort. Carl Amon, the 2 votes. His drive off to the half back on that wing area, and just looked fantastic. And Chad Warner was Sydney's best player with the 2 goals and moved well through the midfield. And I'll go GWS Collingwood, Finn Callahan, no surprise. And obviously a lot of people looking at him for their Supercoach team. Beautiful game, beautiful player. So no doubt there. Sam Taylor, by far the best defender on the ground and just repelled Collingwood all day. Josh Kelly was back to his best. I was quite surprised at how well he actually did play, amount of handballs and he got by playing in that midfield, obviously with Tom Green missing, was, just wound back the clock. Darcy Cameron was Collingwood's best player. Obviously the opponent against him was a bit different than what he'd probably normally against, but you can only play who you're up against. And he did obviously give Keith a bath once Briggs went off injured. And Toby Bedford, I'm happy to have these 5-4-3-2-1s for the reason I can include somebody who's more a defensive player, and his work on Dacos for the game. We do obviously know Dacos sort of ran out of gas a little bit and had the cramps and everything else that went with it, but Bedford did a brilliant job locking him down all day. So that's a bit about that. So just a little bit of a recap. I'll try to get on here as a live leading into Essendon Hawthorn tomorrow night for those last changes. And we'll probably try to get on for about a 7 o'clock chat again as that game tomorrow night is what do we got here? It's a 7:40 game, so that'll give us about half an hour leading into that. If I get on earlier, I'll let you guys know. So I'll at the moment it's probably going to be aimed for 7 p.m. and we'll have a bit more of a talk in regarding the last sort of changes that we need to lock in now that we will have the team. So that'll be a live show, guys. But good luck tonight. Richmond, Carlton, make sure you've got them locked in. If you're going to loophole, make sure you've got the emergencies on, say Camperoli and a trainer. If you're going to put them on field, obviously have them on field. And then it's a fluid situation. You can obviously move your players around from there. So happy super coaching, happy tipping, guys. And I'll be back tomorrow night. Catches.